How's it going, everyone? So we're doing things a little bit differently this year in regards to my footage with the Game Awards. Prior years, I would just strictly upload my footage, kind of combine it all together and then just direct upload that to YouTube. I've instead opted to do commentary this year. I felt this was a good opportunity for me to basically talk about my experience at the events, what I thought about it. And I don't want to get too much into the nominations and the actual winnings. I will mention some games that I feel did deserve a little bit more praise than they actually received. But I don't want to get into too much of my thoughts because I do plan to actually talk about all the games that released this year, as well as my favorites and personal, game of the year and all that stuff at a later time. So rather than spoil that in this video, I'm going to basically hold those thoughts until I play the rest of the games that are coming out this year and talk about that at a later time. So I've been going to the Game Awards, basically since 2015, and it's been a event that I've consistently looked forward to and enjoyed. I know a lot of people have their issues with the Game Awards and personal biases and stuff like that aside, but I've always enjoyed going to these. I think it's a great opportunity to basically be involved with the gaming community. The energy in particular going to these events is something that can only be experienced. It's kind of hard to describe. So, I've enjoyed every single year going to this, and I was very sad the past 2 years, basically, of the show being canceled. Keep in mind that COVID was going on. The last year, it was an invite-only event, so it was a much more limited, audience. This year was the first year where they finally opened it back up to the public. You could buy tickets, and I was there day one, the moment that the tickets went live. So I got my seats early. Unfortunately, as you're going to see, I didn't get to sit too close to the front. In fact, these were kind of my least favorite seats, but being that I haven't been there in 2 years, it was still exciting nonetheless. So the footage that you're seeing right now is myself and my boyfriend Jacob. We're just kind of walking around the current mall right now. This is us prior to actually going to the actual Game Awards event. So I wanted to record, footage of that, get some stuff in here. It was just kind of a day. And, you'll see later on when we actually arrive at the Game Awards, some of the cool stuff that they had set up. So before we get into the announcements, I just want to talk about my thoughts on this year's show in comparison to the previous years. This has always come under some scrutiny. Last year, I remember the show being, like 3.5 hours long. It was incredibly substantial. And, definitely had some pacing issues. It felt like it dragged on a lot from time to time. And even watching it on stream where you're basically just in the comfort of your own space. I was actually in New Jersey at the time for work when it was going on, but I was still watching from my hotel room. It was just... It was way too long. So this year, Jeff really made it a focus to basically be a lot shorter. However, as we'll talk about in a bit, that didn't really pan out. But, in comparison to the prior years, I have to say that this show felt a lot more focused. I think that the announcements were pretty good overall, although Jeff Keighley puts out the same tweet every single year that, this year's show is going to be incredible. The amount of announcements that we have, the surprises, it is going to, nothing is going to be even compared to it that you have seen before. We've seen the same sort of spiel from him, and every single year it seems that he overhypes the show, and it turns out to be not as substantial, or the announcements that we get were expected but nothing super groundbreaking. I have to say that this year felt a lot more focused, and I also feel that the announcements, while not completely earth-shattering, there were some earth-shattering announcements in there. I did expect a little bit more on that front though, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. I do think this year's show was one of the better ones in recent memory. Jeff really made it a point to make sure that the pacing was a focus for this year's show, especially hearing all the negative feedback regarding the long show from last year and the year prior. And so, the whole objective was to make sure that this show was 2.5 hours long, really 2 hours long if you discount the pre-show. And that was ruined almost immediately when Christopher Judge went on stage and basically took a whole 10 to 15 minutes for his awards speech. I was sitting there in the audience listening to him, and I was even getting emotional because, he's someone, if you ever watched his interviews, he's incredibly endearing. You could tell he talks from experience, and his voice especially just elevates and adds weight to all of the words. So I was getting like, a bit emotional as he was giving that speech, and it became like sort of a running joke. You could tell that the rest of the nominations, when they got up on stage to give their celebratory speech, they were giving substantially less time than I think that they should have. But because of that, because of Chris, it had like a ripple effect throughout the entire show. You could tell that he was like rushing. Jeff was like rushing to get through the rest of the stuff to make sure that they ended on time. We got out of there around was it 7:30, 7:45. So for us it was basically a 3 hour show. Although I will say that it didn't feel as bad sitting there. It was interesting still to watch and fun to watch, and I didn't feel like I was like ready for the show to like end, before it did. So I just felt that was a bit funny because that was a focus for this year's show, and it definitely kind of didn't pan out. I think they're definitely going to be working on some better cues and better instructions, as the shows continue. So very quickly, let's talk about the stuff that was announced at the Game Awards. Now, I don't want to get into too much of my thoughts about the details of each one because, quite frankly, not everything actually directly appeals to me. And also, I want to make this a digestible video. So I'm going to go kind of quick through these, but, just know that I'm actually very excited about all of this stuff. So we finally got confirmation that Returnal is coming to PC, which is great. This game to me is one of my favorite games, if not my favorite game this generation so far. So if you haven't had a PS5 to experience Returnal and you have a capable PC, definitely pick it up. It's one hell of an experience and I highly recommend it. We also finally got another trailer for this game called Replace. I think this is coming to Xbox and PC sometime in June. Looks super interesting. This is that weird 2.5D kind of pixel style game with that really interesting world, and looks like an interesting narrative as well. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Great to see that that game's coming somewhat soon, and should be a lot of fun. We also got another trailer for Street Fighter 6. They've added a ton of new fighters, and they've finally given us a release date as well. So that is very exciting. Now, Street Fighter 6 is having a second beta in the next week. I am planning to play that. However, I'm not going to do another video on the Street Fighter 6 beta. If you want to know what my thoughts were playing the initial beta, I'll leave a card up in this YouTube video. You can check it out then. But looking forward to Street Fighter 6 and experiencing all the additions that Capcom is making to the actual game. It looks pretty good. Our first bombshell announcement was this game called Judas from the creator of BioShock and BioShock Infinite, Ken Levine. Now, when Ken Levine split off from 2K in, I think it was 2014, to form his own studio, we've been waiting for this game for what seems like forever, and I just thought it was dead in the water at this point because like the last time we heard of an update on this game was that it was going through a lot of development issues. They had to like rewrite the script. They didn't have a clear focus on what the game was. They kept changing things. Well, we finally got an announcement for this game at the Game Awards, Judas. It looks very interesting, similar to BioShock where you have powers in like your left hand and stuff like that you can use, still first person. But I'm really hoping that this is going to be an atmospheric like horror game or have some type of horror element to it. Regardless, it looks super exciting and I'm just happy to see that this game is on its way. We also got a new trailer for Rocksteady's Suicide Squad. This has been highly anticipated, and nice to see that Kevin Conroy is going to be returning to reprise his role as Batman, even though he just passed away. I guess they recorded his lines before that, so that was really great to see, and sort of his last project, his final goodbye to the character. I know Rocksteady's going to do it justice. So now Star Wars Jedi Survivor, we've got a gameplay trailer for this, and wow, this actually blew me away. Now I loved Fallen Order. I thought it was a great game. Respawn did a fantastic job and created one of the best Star Wars games in years. I'm very much looking forward to this, and Respawn has still never to this day made a bad game in my opinion, so I just know that they're going to do this one justice. Looking forward to the story and what's next for Cal Kestis, the main character, and just being back in that world again is going to be very exciting. So very much looking forward to that. That's coming out in March, which is fairly soon, so I'll be picking that up and probably doing an unboxing for it as well. We also got the announcement that Forspoken is having a game demo. This is perfect for the game. I think that game really needs a demo because a lot of people were very skeptical about whether that game was going to be good or not. I'm considering doing a demo playthrough for the channel, but let me know if you guys want to see that. Regardless, I downloaded it on my PS5 and I'm going to be checking it out this weekend. Now, another cool announcement we got was Death Stranding 2. Now, we knew this was coming. Norman Reedus kind of leaked it in an interview a couple months ago. But finally, we got the official trailer, the official confirmation that it's coming from Kojima. It looks fantastic. The trailer itself looked super realistic, just the way that they did character rendering and stuff. It looked lifelike almost. But I'm very much looking forward to that. We also got the announcement from Don't Nod, a new game called Banishers. Now, I was waiting for Don't Nod to finally release or announce a new AAA experience, because they do, their smaller narrative-focused games like Life is Strange and all that stuff. But I really enjoy their more bigger budget games as well. Remember Me, Vampire, and now we have Banishers coming out. This looks really exciting and seems to have combat that's going to kind of take what they did in Vampire, I think, make it a little bit more action-packed, a little bit more focused. Just excited to see a brand new sort of AA, AAA experience, whatever you want to call from them. Story-based game like this, a much more larger experience than simply Life is Strange. Idris Elba is also going to be in the Cyberpunk DLC. We got a new trailer for that, the Phantom Liberty. It looks pretty exciting. I'll probably check it out. All of CDPR's DLCs have been substantial and excellent, so I'm hoping that Phantom Liberty does something similar. I'm not expecting anything on the scale of Blood and Wine, but hopefully very, very, fun and a new place to explore and stuff like that. So it looks pretty good. Idris Elba is a great actor, so he'll be right there alongside Keanu Reeves. Interesting to see how that dynamic plays out. Now, From Software also announced they're making a brand new Armored Core game. Now, I think Armored Core has been dormant for years. I mean, when's the last time Armored Core 5 came out? I never played the series, never really got into it. I know of it, but it wasn't really sort of my cup of tea. But being that From Software is developing this, I'm going to have to see real gameplay before I make a decision. We'll have to see how the gameplay turns out for that one. I don't think it's coming anytime soon, though. And then we closed off the show with a new look at Final Fantasy 16, another trailer. It continues to look very cool, very exciting, and we got a release date finally for the end of June, which is very, very cool. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the game when it comes out. Now, as far as stuff that we didn't see, I was really expecting something from Microsoft to be shown at this year's Game Awards. I was expecting a release date for Starfield, an update on Redfall, Forza Motorsport, and all, these new games are supposed to be coming within the next 6 months. But Microsoft had nothing to show. I was really surprised at that. Phil Spencer was in the audience. Sony had more to show at this year's Game Awards, and I didn't see Jim Ryan anywhere at all. So I was really expecting something from Microsoft, kind of disappointed that there was nothing. And at this point, I'm really hoping that they have an event planned for January or sometime very, very soon, because you have these games coming, supposedly within the next, the beginning of the first half of next year. And you just have no announcements up to this point. So I'm not sure what their strategy is there. Kind of disappointed to see no updates as far as those games coming, but we need to get some news quickly on that stuff. And as always, the rumors that persist during around this time turned out to be complete bullshit. We did not get a sequel to Alien Isolation. Sega, I'm still waiting and will always be waiting. Get that shit done. And there was some other stuff. People were rumoring that Turok was going to come back, and I probably would have had a heart attack in the theater if that happened, because dinosaurs have been dormant from video games for quite some time, at least in the single player area. So still waiting for that as well. Now, briefly, I just want to touch upon what happened at the very end of the Game Awards with that kid sort of getting up on stage with the developers of Elden Ring, even though he wasn't part of their team directly, and taking the mic and all that stuff. As soon as that happened, when From Software finished giving their gratitude speech, and the guy sort of behind them went to grab the mic and say something really quick, us in the audience, we didn't hear anything. They cut off his mic, they cut off the video feed, and it wasn't until they brought it back about, it was about 40 seconds or so later, he was still up there trying to talk. So they brought the microphone back online, and all we heard was, we'd like to dedicate this award to Bill Clinton, and then he walked off. And the entire audience, all of us were like, wait, what? We didn't get it. In fact, we thought we misheard him, because it just made completely no sense to us in the audience. It was like there was this slow clap afterwards, okay. So it turns out, and we didn't find this out until like 10 minutes later when Jeff Keighley tweeted basically saying that the individual who went up on stage was arrested. So he wasn't even part of the development team. I guess when Elden Ring won Game of the Year, the developers got up. He was sitting a few rows behind them, got up with them and just started walking along up to the front of the stage, acting as if he was one of the developers. I mean, at the very least, we could be thankful that he didn't try to completely ruin the ceremony and take the mic and start, spouting all this nonsense and stuff like that. But I mean, just what a little shit. I mean, these people work extremely hard. It's their moment to be recognized, and we're all sitting here excited and happy for the developers, and for you just to undermine their moments, just take away the spotlight for just nothing. I mean, it's just completely pointless. You didn't have anything important to say. And it's like even what you said didn't make any sense whatsoever. So it was just like it was just like nonsensical, and I'm in shock that it even happened. And I just feel really bad from Software, because no one's talking about them really winning Game of the Year. Everyone's talking about that kid who just managed to get up on stage with them and in front of millions of people watching from all around the world, in front of all those incredibly talented actors, developers, and the company CEOs. Everyone was there. And when you're up there, you take the mic and you steal the spotlight and undermine the developers' moment. Like, it just kind of pisses me off. I feel really bad for From Software. That moment had to be kind of ruined. I know Jeff Keighley's probably incredibly pissed, and I would bet that next year there's going to be some major changes. In fact, there might even be security, or they might be talking to the developers directly and saying, there's only a certain amount of people who can go up on stage. Anyone outside of that cannot go up, and it's going to have a ripple effect. They're going to make some new rules, because he's definitely not going to let that happen again. And just annoying, just kind of really annoying. So anyway, they caught him immediately after. Apparently he was arrested. So I guess we'll hear what happens to him later on. But it was just really stupid that someone even had the balls to go up there and not even to say anything important. Like, if you're gonna be a jackass, at least be funny, or at least use that moment to do something of significance. Anyway, I feel bad for From Software, because no one's talking about their award. They're just talking about that kid who stole the spotlight from him. All right. Yeah, that was basically my experience at this year's Game Awards show. A lot of fun, I would say. Definitely had more stuff to do around the actual venue. You guys saw that little thing they had set up for Diablo 4. It's not really my cup of tea, but exciting to be there and, just celebrate the announcements and stuff with the developers. Great trailer, though, I have to say. Not as someone who's not even interested in the game, that was a great trailer for Diablo 4. In any case, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think about this format as well. Previously I would just upload the direct footage of me walking around the venue and stuff like that. Now you can actually get my thoughts about everything. I didn't record too much footage this time, but still wanted to make sure I got something out for you guys. And other than that, I will see you guys for the next one. Thank you very much, and have an awesome day.